Hello and welcome to the third lesson in Teach Me to Program C++ by Microsonic Development. Today we'll be discussing inheritance and virtual functions. So we will be beginning from where our last tutorial left off. We will be using the same ball class that we created when we introduced them, but we'll be adding to it and making it what we call an abstract class. An abstract class has a virtual method, which I'll define in a moment, that is undefined and requires a class which derives it to implement that method. A virtual method is one that is able to be overridden by a class that does inherit the class in which the virtual method exists. That is, this class ball, when we implement virtual methods, can also be inherited by something else. You can think of it in terms of in balls in general. Think of a baseball, as we will be creating a more specific type of ball, is a type of ball, but a ball is not necessarily a baseball. A ball can be also a basketball, a soccer ball, what have you. So we'll get right into this with writing some code about it. So our first virtual method we will create, we'll just call it a standard virtual method, and we'll return a constant character pointer, which is equivalent to a string for a better term, and it will be some color. We will get color. So in light of the get color, we will actually create a color variable down here as well, which we can initialize. One thing we will be introducing as well, which is more of a class thing, is this protected keyword. Protected allows any inheriting class to access a method, but nothing else can. So when we attempt to create our baseball will have access to this protected method. However, our main method won't have access to this. You won't be able to call it from there. So what we will do is we will call we'll create a void method called setColor, and it will take a constant character string. Great. So now we have our first virtual function, which we created with this virtual keyword, meaning that it can be overridden. However, if it's not overridden, then it will just use the base definition type, as you see here. So we'll actually define that now in our CPP file. Notice that we will not put the virtual keyword out here. And that is because the virtual keyword only goes in the class definition, or in the declaration file, and not out here in the definition. So we've defined our getColor method, and now we will define our setColor method. We'll set color equal to C, and that's all there is to it, to implementing those few methods. Now we will also introduce another type of virtual method. As I said before, this method, if the deriving class does not declare its own method for this method specifically will be used. However, there are methods called pure virtual methods, in which case it requires the derived class to actually define that method. So let's begin with our pure virtual method. We will call it a virtual method that returns a constant character pointer, and it will be a getType. And getType, for our purposes, will get whatever type of object we're truly creating. Now notice this equals 0. That is what makes it a pure virtual function. If we were to try to create an instance of a ball now, we would get a compiler error trying to compile an abstract class. That's what we made this. We made this an abstract class because it has a virtual member, which is pure virtual, which means it must be defined by an inheriting class. So now we have this pure virtual method, and we're going to begin our baseball. We have the header definitions already in here, so we do need to include ball. Ball is included. Now we're going to create a class. We'll call it baseball. And this is where the inheritance takes place. The single colon followed by public to explain its inheritance method, meaning that anybody creating a baseball type can access any public member of the ball type as well. So there is our flesh out of baseball. And what we will do is we will create a default constructor, a virtual destructor. Now notice, I will do it over here as well. Anytime you have a anytime you have a class containing virtual methods, you should always make your destructor virtual. You should never make your constructor virtual, but your destructor should always be virtual if you have any virtual methods, so that you ensure that things get cleaned up properly. Notice as well that this virtual for all of these methods carry through. So for our inheriting baseball, get color is a virtual method, and if anything were to inherit baseball, if you can create a more specific baseball, that get color method would still be virtual. This retains its virtualness, for lack of a better term, for every inheriting class from here on out.